Hello, I'm Chris Williams and welcome to my YouTube channel, Read Comics They're Bad For You. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, welcome to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Apparently some SJW hate hoaxers decided to use a story that's been told over and over again, and we'll learn all about it in this article. Chris Musson makes up a story that's been told several times before. SJWs are notorious for perpetuating hate hoaxes in an effort to prove political points that don't exist. They do this by fabricating silly little anecdotes that are purportedly provide some kind of teachable moment that demonstrates a larger picture. Of course, the fact that SJW ideology is pure nonsense is precisely the reason that they have to make these anecdotes up. One of the more popular examples involves a politically active parent claiming boys made fun of my daughter at school for liking Star Wars because they said it was for boys. The fact that this Chris Musson is going to use his daughter to prove a political point is what makes him such a terrible person. Probably an even worse parent. So I have no doubt that Chris Musson is your typical SJW ideologue. So let's get through the rest of this article. Of course, that is now a silly notion given the fact that boys have now abandoned Star Wars as they now consider it for girls, as is evidenced by the mammoth carbon footprint that all of the unsold Rose Tico action figures have left behind. This, of course, was the inevitable lesson that Mattel learned with their He-Man and the Masters of the Universe toy line 30 years ago. But SJWs are masters at banging their heads against brick walls as they repeatedly attempt to impose the same cultural trash that has consistently failed in the past. They insist that a square peg will fit into a round hole and refuse to give up. So they devised this anecdote to prove that Star Wars is also for girls, even though no one ever said that it wasn't. Well, no one except the parents to make up these transparent lies. And how are all these little lies and stuff working out for the SJWs? It's pretty much, well, driven them to the point where they're basically losing their jobs left and right if you look at College Humor, or any other comedy site, or any place that has allowed SJWs to take over and fester in their business. Those businesses went woke and of course went broke, and we all sit back and laugh, even though it's sad to see places like Marvel Comics go down the drain, besieged by all of these SJW parasites that have destroyed a once great franchise and business. But hey, if the SJWs can't learn their lesson, who are any of us to stop them? Just let the enemy keep making mistakes, I say. But these anecdotes? The first example from back in March of 2018 and came from NJ Simmons, who tweeted, "My 7-year-old daughter's crying in bed right now because she wants to wear her Star Wars t-shirt to school, but is scared her classmates will laugh because she likes boy stuff. I'm so sad, angry for her. Please, RT in a comment so I can show her how awesome girl Star Wars fans are. NJ Simmons TPK, March 6, 2018. Interesting. NJ Simmons, who also turned out to be a young adult author, suddenly wasn't interested in telling her story after her tweet gained traction in the media. Even though she's a professional storyteller, it's almost as though she made up the story as a kind of lesson for her young adult readers. Well, NJ Simmons is an author after all, and she probably doesn't want to involve herself in this controversy because she wants to keep selling books. And if her readers get turned off by her behavior, well, she only has herself to blame, doesn't she? The next example was also retweeted by Mark Hamill in February 2019. He was responding to a tweet by Crystal Foster. "My 5-year-old daughter picked these shoes and a boy at school said Star Wars is for boys. She said Star Wars is for girls too. What do you think of it, Mark Hamill?" Mark Hamill said, "Sometimes boys can be such stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herders." Hey, I heard about this tweet and it still makes you look bad, Mark Hamill. You shouldn't involve yourself in these ideologue squabbles. I mean, you even did one where you were basically attacking a fan, and how did that work out for you, Mark Hamill? A lot of people hated you for it. What's always interesting about these tall tales is that we never hear the stories told straight from the child. It's always the parent who announces these anecdotes to the world. Nor do we ever hear what school exactly these instances took place at, or who the purported boys were, and if they were punished, etc. I suppose coaching a 5-year-old to lie to the camera for a political agenda might be tough, though. Now, some will say that the idea of putting a child on camera is horrible, but it's not as though mothers have had difficulty doing exactly that in the past when it benefits them. More evidence that SJWs are unfit parents and they should not be allowed to raise their kids, especially if they're going to raise their kids to be ideologues too. And the fact that no one can verify any of these reports of basically their children being bullied by these so-called boys at their schools makes me think these people are lying like they always do. But what do you expect? SJWs to actually show honor and basically respect anyone? No, they won't. Here's a tweet from Chris Musson himself. Daughter, 5, took Star Wars lunchbox water bottle to school, came home crushed, saying she ended up hiding them, as boys in her P1 class said Star Wars is for boys, not girls, not school's fault, but it's 2020 and fighting gender stereotyping needs pushed up agenda. Of course it needs agenda pushing because you're an ideologue, Chris Musson, and you look like a scummy little bastard as well from your little thumbnail there. Now, I think no one should listen to this guy because I think he's just full of it. Update. We okay. My wife emailed school. It's great and got very reassuring response saying teacher tipped off and school doing utmost to help kids overcome gender stereotypes, empower them to challenge ingrained ideas, citing examples and lessons and extracurricular activities. And wow, this guy just says a mouthful of nonsense and overcoming bullcrap, right? Does every ideologue have to sound exactly the same? Our universities should be sued into the ground because all of these people just look like and sound like drones. So which school was it, Chris? Because it would be nice to be able to contact the school to confirm whether or not any of this actually took place. And since you're already putting this story out into the public, you really shouldn't have a problem with that. But ultimately, this has nothing whatsoever with Chris's daughter or Star Wars. This is solely about Chris Musson fabricating a story so he would have a reason to preach about gender stereotyping. As par the course for SJWs, because they can't do anything but basically shill out their agenda politics and blame others for their shortcomings. Yeah, whenever they see anyone who is actually happy, they think ultimately, yes, it must be due to misogyny and racism. If they see someone like boys enjoying Star Wars, they automatically try to shove their little girls into the mix, even though little girls didn't like Star Wars. But now, Star Wars is for girls, so congratulations, little girls, you have another franchise to love. But hey, boys, we like boys things, so even if the SJWs corrupt as many boys things as they can, we will just make our own. We want to see manly stuff. We want to see cool stuff. We don't want girly stuff in our hardcore science fiction and fantasy franchises. So learn this, Disney and SJWs. Boys and girls are different. They like different things. And if you make something for girls or turn something that was made for boys into something girly, boys will just reject it and they will go and look for something else, something cool, something that is actually manly. We do not want girly things. We are boys. Girls like girly things. Girls like being the fantasy princesses. Girls like thinking about getting married when they grow up. Boys want to be the tough manly hero who goes around stopping villainy. Now you can understand why the NPCs want to go after that kind of idea, because most of them are mostly villains and idealized villains. So the idea of anyone being a hero and stopping them, that pretty much is anathema to them, and they want to be able to rip it out and take it away from human nature. Well, you can't. When we see villainy, when real boys and men see villainy, they want to beat it in the ass. And this goes for nerds and jocks. When we see something bad, we want to do something good to stop it. Well, I should say chads rather than jocks, and basically the manly man, I guess. But that goes for nerds too, even if they're as girly as an SJW. If you're just a nerd, well, you know what being bullied and how bad that makes you feel, so you can stand up for the little guy yourself, and you know that. And a lot of these guys do. They might get beaten up by these guys, mainly because even SJWs wouldn't take on one nerd who's weaker than them with at least 5 other of their buddies behind them. It is a known fact that no NPC would ever fight anyone fairly without anyone backing them up. If they went one-on-one with even a nerd would be able to cream them like no tomorrow. In fact, it would probably make the nerd into a Chad, because then he'd know what it was like to taste blood. If you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed, because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you are still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics, They're Bad For You. Then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And if you could you also please share this video? Share it on Twitter, share it on Reddit, and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it'll do the most good, because YouTube is not going around promoting their own YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely. Keep checking back in all my future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. That was my daily plug for my independent comic book, and remember, this comic book is going to be good. I'm Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.